get the other ones to you. This one's really soon.
As the evening falls here in Beijing, China, it's Friday, July 31st, 2020, and I'll say that whenever you travel, you meet a variety of people, and some of them are very interesting, some of them are somewhat interesting, some of them are not interesting at all. Today, I have a guest who would actually fit into hasn't really done very much to be remarkable, and he'll laugh when he hears what I've just said, only because when you get to talk to him, that's when he really opens up and becomes some of the life of the party. A good talker, charming man. I've worked with him a bit here in China, in Beijing, and the one remarkable thing that he's actually done quite a bit of over the last 6 months is he's watched a lot of movies. Now, that might not sound like very much to most people, but over the last 6 months, since the quarantine started, since COVID sort of shut down a lot of things, both here in China and around the world, my guest today, Owen Johnston, has basically watched 180 movies, one movie every day of the lockdown. That's in addition to his other watching, on flights and trains and whatnot that we were taking. So today we're going to chit-chat a little bit about what he's seen so far, what he's learned about movies and what makes a good movie and what makes a bad movie. And then also, we were supposed to meet in person today, but we didn't. We got rained out in Beijing. I know it's kind of funny to hear that we got rained out in our own city, but that's what happened. It was a torrential downpour not too long ago, so we decided to Zoom it instead. It'd be a bit more convenient for everybody involved. So with that, let's get Mr. Owen Johnston on the phone, on the Zoom machine. Testing, test. Good. Yes, and start. That is it. Right there. Good. Computer audio, and I'm going to test. Participants. I don't need this. Goodbye. Audio. Now, which one did you join? There we go. And with that, we are live. Owen Johnston. He's joining right now. Owen Johnston. Oh, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Boy, I missed that voice.
It's only been hours, right?
Yeah, it's literally been only, 3 hours since we saw each other.
I got dressed up specially for you because you're Canadian, right?
Yeah, and that is what? I'm sorry, I actually don't know. What is that?
It's a Thai football shirt for the Naval Academy, but I was thinking Avril Lavigne. Sailor Boy.
Oh, I thought it was a Skater Boy.
I didn't have any skateboard shirts. This is literally the closest I could get.
And even I know that one. I mean, that's terrible. You could even pull that one off on me. Well, yeah. See, and who was Ricky was telling me that I should get you to demonstrate all of your jerseys, and I was like, well, I don't know if we need all of these.
It's an audio medium. This is going to be difficult.
It's both actually, because I do record the video as well. But the original plan was to have you here, and then that way you
I'm really
could have.
sorry.
I know the torrential downpour. I mean, of all 37 minutes that it happened, but it like literally drowned Beijing in how many inches of water, right?
Oh man, my on the cycle back, like I was aquaplaning,
Yeah,
but I
mostly.
really do like the bin liner for a wall. It makes it look like there's a very niche snuff porn about to happen.
Sadly, and I just got this, and I thought it was going to be thicker, but it wasn't. It's still very thin. You can see that there's a light right there. It shines through. And because when I bought it off of Jingdong or Taobao or whatever it was, I was like, oh, look, I mean, because it's 3 meters wide, and that's the idea, is to black out the whole curtain sort of thing. But it's not blacking out, as you can see. It's not. And it's all crinkly.
You need to get it 3 meters wide and half a meter thick.
That's something like that. But I mean, so I'm going to probably get a second one, and I'll just double them up. Or get a black one. That would have been a good idea too, but whatever.
Is it not black?
It's gray. Because I figured, all these, a lot of people, they used to say that I wear black too much. So I thought, well, okay, I'll be a little bit more lively. I will.
Yeah, get a gray one.
I'll get a gray one. Wouldn't that be a
And
good
if it was black, you wouldn't be able to see your chair. And there's all sorts of issues that are raised if you can't see your chair.
Well, and then I would have had to wear a white shirt all the time, and I've worn white shirts. I mean, it's just another way of doing it, right? But yeah. Anyway, it's something I got to work on. As you can tell, this is by no means a professional production just yet. It is a work in production, work in progress.
If anything, I enjoy this more. When people say they want to get in on the ground floor, I want to get in and leave on the ground floor. I have no desire to stay once something becomes like successful, because there's pressure.
What's going to become successful? You or this podcast?
I mean, surely I'm missing the podcast. The podcast is missing me. Together, we're going to be unstoppable, and I can't cope with that.
I'm sure it's fine. Are you drinking water? I'm drinking water,
no,
and
I'm
sweating it all out.
Lemongrass is very nice.
Is that the vodka, the Beijing vodka? Beijing vodka stuff?
Just sipping.
Well, so, because you were supposed to come over here, I bought a bunch of beer, and now it's not between two people, it's between me.
So Melissa's been sent out on a beer run as well, so I've got some beers on the way.
Okay, when are they going to arrive? I can wait to open them.
Any moment now, but it's okay. We can get cracking. I don't know how you like to do this. I just like having someone to talk to.
We are cracking right now. Of course, I was telling people that you are
we're
probably
recording.
You are probably one of the most conversational of all the people at our current place of employment, and but
it's not saying a huge amount.
Well, true, given that our job is basically having conversations all day with clients and whatnot. But that being the case, when we are not conversing with the client people, you are then conversing with, regular people like your colleagues and your coworkers and other people as well. So, but wait a minute. Okay, so you have a Chinese fiance.
Yes.
Now, did you pick her up by way of your charming English or your charming Chinese?
Actually, we met in France.
What?
It was a tour of historic French buildings where I met Melissa. You could say it was love at Versailles.
Snap. There you go. But was it actually at Versailles or was it not at Versailles?
No, not at all. I just thought that's a good joke.
Because
we met when I was an English teacher and she was an English student.
So many of them do.
The thing I never get is so many of them do, and then they're like, "Oh no, I can't say this." That's where the Versailles joke came from, because I don't care. I was inappropriate with many students while working for EF in Beijing, adults.
But
EF,
wait a minute,
not
were
kids.
you a teacher you weren't a teacher in Paris, or in France? You were teaching.
No. I've never been to France. I'm not sure what France. That was just for the purposes of the love at Versailles joke.
That would have been so much better had you actually met at Versailles. I mean,
yes.
and it would have been so much better had you actually taught in France, because like you're from England basically. Wait, you're from Cornwall, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I am.
And the only reason I know that is because of the movie that you suggested to me, Bait, which we will talk about. But you're just a hop, skip, and a jump from your hometown basically to France. You could have taught in France anyway. Why did you come to China of all places? That's not a hop, skip, and a jump.
I finished my master's in China, so I was in Tianjin for a year. And I quite liked it, even though I had no money. I was so poor in Tianjin, I had to cut people's hair in exchange for food. And I can't cut hair good.
No, you didn't. You're lying. You did not cut hair.
Oh, I did. I absolutely did. Because a lot of the foreign students had issues when they went to Chinese hairdressers that they said, I want this. And the guy just went, Rrr. So basically, I always cut my own hair. And people went, oh, could you just trim mine? I was like, sure, I'll come around to your house about dinner time and cut your hair.
So all of this beard trimming, because for those who haven't seen you before, you're clean shaven mostly right now. You got the Wolverine chops right now. But you don't have your full on beard, your coronavirus beard that was like, it was like 2 or 3 inches long beard. Already. But
I had to shave it off for surgery. Otherwise I'd still have it.
No, your fiance told you to shave it off.
No, she told me to shave them. The whole beard had to go completely because I had surgery on my mouth, and they literally wouldn't let me
again
go to surgery without.
What did you have surgery for this
shaved.
time?
It's the same tooth, just getting more things implanted into my skull.
You enjoy that process, don't you?
Far too much, but yeah, I shaved off my massive beard in a public bathroom in a building where my dentist office is. And I cut myself many times.
Yeah, I hear that happens, when you're doing that. I the one time I shaved off my beard in a public place, it was on the train in Australia. I took the Indian Pacific. I went from Perth to Adelaide, and I had a beard about the same height. And I had just purchased my first actual like buzzing razor, the buzz sort of thing, and I wasn't sure which clip to use. And so I took one that I thought would be long enough, and then stupid me, I didn't check first, and I did.
And you went straight that.
Yeah, and it was like, that's too short. Now I'm committed, so now I have to shave the whole thing. And literally, I went into the shower room because this train had a shower, and I came out and I was clean shaven, and people were just like, what the fuck happened to you?
Has he got a ticket?
Like, who is this guy? What happened to him? But yeah, that was that's my public shaving story. I don't do it now, and now I've learned which clip to actually use. But you had surgery. You're okay. Your faces look. I mean, you didn't puff up.
Oh yeah, and then I grew another beard, and then I shaved it off again. Like beards are 10 a penny for me.
Yeah, no, you grow. I can't shave my beard off because it'll take me 3 years to grow this back, and I refuse to do that. I mean,
that's the best way to have it.
Wow.
Have a beard, never shave.
I did that once before from, what was it, in Southeast Asia. I grew a beard. It was 6 inches. It was my Karl Marx beard. And I believe every man should grow a Karl Marx beard, sized beard, at least once in their lifetime, especially if they ever get the chance. Usually when they're unemployed, because that's the most convenient time to do it. But when they're employed at some point, they should grow a massive 6-inch beard. And just, that's it. Just have a couple pictures of them with that sort of beard. But
if you meet a woman or man while owning such a beard, you know you're a charmer.
Yeah, that's true. Or maybe they just love you for the beard, and once you shave it off, they're like, well, I don't like you anymore.
Or maybe they just love you for who you are. Ugh.
Do people still do that these days? No, it doesn't happen. Come on. Stop joking around.
I'm sorry.
But you actually grow different beard styles every month. You have a different one.
Well, see, people don't notice this because I change stuff so often. I'm a very boring person to look at, so I have to keep it lively. It's like a follicle influencer on Instagram. Unless there's new
follicle okay,
influence,
gotcha. Right?
Unless there's new material coming out, who's going to give a toss?
And that's how I kind of introduced you in this in today's episode. It was just kind of like, yeah, and he's not.
Have you introduced me?
Yeah, you're not very remarkable in any which way, but I mean, you do. When you come into the room, people turn and they listen and they talk. But they do listen and they do enjoy your banter, and there's a lot of banter that comes out of your face. Not just your mouth, but like everything, with or without the beard, right?
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I do prefer the beard. I look a bit childlike.
A little bit, and you look a bit more professional, which is like, you can't have that. I mean,
don't worry, it's not gonna last.
You look as if you should have a proper job, and Lord knows. Do we have that? I mean, especially as a glorified English teaching, basically. I mean, do you consider that a proper job?
Without the teaching element, yeah.
Well, be that as it may. What would you, if you were to grow back your beard, what kind of, do you ever plan out what you're going to grow your beard to be, or is it no?
I plan nothing. No, I like. My issue is I get bored, so I can never really push beyond that threshold. For my best friend's wedding, I just let my hair and my beard grow for like 6 months, and then 2 days before his wedding, I was like, sculpt me. I like it when that was a lot of fun. I ended up with a pompadour, and it's in a kilt.
It was because why not? But you're not Scottish. Why do you have a... No,
but my best friend is Scottish, and because he has lots of small nephews and nieces, he was wearing a kilt, but he couldn't wear it traditionally. Because, so I had to be his champion for the day. So I went kilted, and a bunch of rugby players, when I was drunk, picked me up, one under each leg, one under each arm, and ran me crotch first into random wedding guests' faces.
And that's how you met your ex-wife, or?
Or future wife.
Future wife.
There's still time.
No, you're not divorced yet, as far as I know. You're not divorced. Let's put it that way. Let's not jinx it. Pay, as they say in
Fail
Chinese.
to prepare.
Right, but then okay. So did you have a beard when you were teaching? Because I know when I came to Asia, however many years ago, South Korea, and even when I came to China, they were like, "Oh, you have a beard. Oh, you're one of those people. Can you not have a beard?" And I'm like, can you not say I should not have a beard? Maybe.
Never came up.
No?
Once I came back from Harbin and I shaved my beard off, and I'd been working at the school or the training center for like 6 months at that point. And I came back in with the beard gone.
Right.
And people were like, who's the new teacher?
Oh, there's a new teacher. He looks professional. Better pay attention to him. No.
To be fair, I wore very, very tight trousers. No one was looking at my face.
But you like that, don't you? You like the tight trousers.
I mean, they need to be tight.
I don't know why. I can't wear tight trousers. I need the room. I really do. Maybe you enjoy that squeeze. I don't.
Can I just interject and say I'm really enjoying the film chat?
Of course. I mean, is it not a film chat?
So wait, I know you're meant to be instigating the interview, but did you say you're a film major?
Oh, sadly.
Today?
Well, I've said it before,
so cool.
not just today, but sadly, yeah.
It piqued my interest. So it pricked something.
Or is it piqued? I never know which word it is. Yes, I did take film studies as my secondary degree.
That's awesome. If I could go back to school, that's exactly what I would do. I would study film with no intention of using it.
Well, I thought I did have an intention of using it, but then it stopped. Then the reality kicked in, and it was like, wait a minute, you can't make money in film studies any more than you can make money in my original degree, which was classics, the study of ancient Greece and
I remember Rome. This.
Yeah, so with all of that, it's kind of like, yeah, my film studies was a backup of sorts because I wasn't supposed to study it as a full-on sort of major. What I should have done, if I was actually really serious about film production and film studies, was I should have gone to a place like New York or Toronto or Vancouver and taken film production. and that would have put me into the actual
Film industry.
making of movies, right? But
You could have been abused by Eddie Murphy.
I could have, and then I would have ended up in China anyway, probably. But even with that, the my hometown does not have much of a film industry. And when I was graduating, it's sort of like when the U.S. dollar or the Canadian dollar went up, then the U.S. production stopped.
Who would go to Canada? Like the whole idea is going for cheap stuff.
Right. When it was 60 cents on the dollar, it was fantastic, but not now.
I'm actually in a Hollywood film, but
Which
I'm not
one?
really in it. When I was walking across the south coast of England, I got to Devon and they were looking for extras, and they paid me like £40 for the day. And I was just lying around as a corpse most of the day. And I've watched the film a few times. Not sure if I've actually made it into anything, but I was paid by the production company of World War Z.
World War Z. That's the movie.
The Brad Pitt. Yeah.
No
they
way.
Were filming some scenes in Devon. And I was just walking through because I had a month-long hike across the south of England. I had nothing else to do.
Right. So you've got a lot going on in that statement. First of all, you're hiking across the fields, Lord of the Rings style.
I was walking from Dover. I was walking from Dover in the very most southeast of England to Land's End in the very most southwest of England.
And why?
We had a game at university. I'm sure lots of people. It was called State or Crate, and if somebody made a statement and they couldn't prove it, they had to buy a crate of beer for everybody.
And your statement?
I can't. Yeah, so you could go like, oh, anyone could lift a table above their head, and if you can't lift a table above your head, you have to buy the beer for everyone. I mentioned one night that it would be easy to walk across the country. And then I did.
Proving how easy it is.
Yeah, it took me just under 4 weeks. Right. And the big problem for me, being as pale as I am and it being in the summer holidays, is that I tan and burn really quickly.
Yeah.
And that's normal, that's fine. But when you're walking exclusively from east to west, you end up looking like a character from that one episode of Star Trek with the black and white people. Like I was completely red on one side of my face.
Oh, jeez.
And then quite white on the other. But I did win a beer as a result of proving my statement.
A beer. But I mean, 4 weeks walking across England, I mean, that's pretty cool.
It was really, I thought I'd be bored on my own, but it turns out there's lots of nice people and a few scary farmers.
Yeah, but okay, so then how did you actually walk across the fields? I mean, did you like literally you picked a street and just went?
I took the coastal walk. Sometimes I'd drift in, sometimes I'd sleep in a field and run away when the farmers started yelling at me in the morning. Some people, a retired bus driver in Torquay met me in Sainsbury's and we started chatting in the queue and he was like, come have dinner with me, stay at mine. So I did. I went to the strange man's house and watched quiz shows with him and his wife.
But that happens a lot with traveling. As I know, you didn't just come to China though. Were you other places before you came to China, or is China like you walked across England and then you came to China?
I finished my master's in Nankai, and then I went back and worked in the UK for a bank for a year. Hated it,
of course,
and then came back to China. I'm not really a traveler. When I travel, I go to see friends mostly because I don't have to pay for hotels.
Yeah. So then when you were walking, this was just you had a month off, you had nothing else to do.
It was between the end of my undergrad and the start of my master's, and I didn't want to get a summer job. So it killed two birds with one stone. I can't get a summer job, and I might win a beer, which I definitely did lose in the subsequent bet.
Okay, what was the subsequent bet?
No idea. I just remember thinking all the effort I put. It was probably something really small, like a coin toss or some shit like that. But yeah, I never got that beer.
So, okay, you get to the end of the walk, and then what happened? You flew back, took the train, or did you walk back?
Oh, actually, it was really nice. My dad came and picked me up. We actually got very drunk in a Cornish town called Penzance the night before the final section of the walk.
Yeah.
It's like to celebrate. He put me up in a pub hotel. We got absolutely hammered. I saw him flirt with a number of bar staff. And then we drove home the next day. It was fun.
How many kilometers? Things. How many kilometers total was it?
I don't know. Let me just. I'll type it in. I'll find out because I'm not a details person.
Well, I know you just literally started walking, and you're like, "Yeah, it's easy, whatever." And then you're like, "Oh shit, I actually have to do this now." I mean, at any point, I guess you could have.
Ignorance is the greatest ally for success.
I would have said travel companion, but yeah, you're right, absolutely.
It's 513.57 kilometers.
Well, that's not that much. That's only from here to what? I don't even know. Beijing to where? Not Tianjin.
It's somewhere about 520 kilometers away.
Oh, 520 kilometers away.
Let's find out. Let's find out.
Well, where would you have to walk from Beijing? 5 hours, any direction, the easiest direction possible. South would probably be it, because I mean, it's actually paved that way.
It's halfway to Wuhan.
But that's only halfway to Wuhan. What else? There's other cities in between here and Wuhan.
I'm going to have a look on the map now, see what's between Beijing and Wuhan. It's pretty much. It's pretty much Zhengzhou. Walking to Zhengzhou.
And it took you 4 weeks to do. Oh, okay, so it's not possible. I was thinking like if we got sent there, you could walk there sometime, but we're pushing it. We're pushing it in terms of.
No, but I mean, I did dally. I lost a day and a bit for doing the film stuff, and then there's other things. Oh, my tent got destroyed in Brighton, right. So I had to that cost me a bit of time as well. Just not by vandals, but by nature. I picked a campsite next to the sea that was below sea level, and it was just a horrible storm that night, and I completely torn to pieces.
And so, what do you mean? What kind of storm was it? Like obviously, it wasn't a flood because you lived.
No, it wasn't. It was just the wind was so strong and my tent was so small. I spent the whole night just stopping my tent from flying away. And then bits of it did fly away.
And you're like, well, this is not really a tent anymore. It's not effectively covering me up. Gone.
I was very embarrassed when I had to tell the Boy Scouts what happened to their tent.
And did you have to tell them how they responded?
Yeah, it was. They went, "Oh, it's fine. We've got loads of these shitty tents."
We bought them in bulk. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we wouldn't have given you the good one.
So then, when did you actually get into that movie in your journey across the hills? So
it's
and the
Devon.
fields?
It's very close to the end. It was about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks in, and it was just a day of lying around in blood and with other people and being told to be quiet.
Shh. Why? Shh. No one knows. Just shh.
Yeah. Brad Pitt was not there. He was probably off at a good location. We were literally just there for
Hollywood. He was probably in Hollywood or in London studios. Or whatever
we were there for those tracking shots that set the scene at the beginning of the film or some shit. It's not a good film.
No, World War Z. I remember this movie, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
You've missed nothing. Hey, Melissa.
Has your beer arrived?
Yeah, my beer has arrived.
Which means then I can fill my glass. So you've got what? Nigel. Shema. Come on.
Yeah, milk beer.
Milk beer. Where'd you get that from?
The Xinjiang shop near our apartment.
Milk beer. Oh well,
it's really good.
I got boring.
Are you working on Sunday? I'll bring you some milk beer on Sunday. Sorry, I got some ice as well.
I don't work on Sundays. I've cut down my hours quite a bit. I got this little limey bastard. This is in tribute to you. I saw this at Slow Boat, and I was like, "Well, limey bastard." And I'm thinking of one of our colleagues who likes to say "limey bastard," and other sorts of.
Who is our colleague who likes to say "limey bastard"?
Oh, that is not what I thought it would be.
Is it limey?
Oh, it's yeah, it is. What is the description of this? I have a picture of this.
Melissa, do you want to photo bomb the podcast?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is terrible. This is lime, lemongrass, and sessionable. Early British
What's
sailors.
That last one? That sounds like a made-up word.
Sessionable. Let's see. Early British salons discovered that eating citrus fused prevented scurvy, a condition linked to vitamin C deficiency. The sailors' fruit of choice was lime, and thus these seafarers came to be known as limeys. And our take on a lime lager became the lime bastard. For the less boozy version, aka Lil Limey, we added lime juice on the cold side, so it's kind of like a Bud Light lime, except good. Well, I don't know if I can agree with that completely, but there you go.
Here's mine.
Cheers. Gun big.
The all whites. It's like a milky toast. I love it. You know those little milk sweets you get in China that are really chalky? It's an alcoholic liquid version of milk.
Right. Maybe if I pour this into a glass, it'll be better.
I think
so. No, it won't.
For a second with the review of like you were reading, I thought you were doing a spot for this, like.
And I was thinking I should get them to sponsor me, but that's not going to happen just yet. Anyway,
how much would a sponsorship spot cost on this podcast?
How much you got?
I mean, I pay for a spot like midway through every podcast just to say something nice about me.
How much?
No transition. We'll talk off camera.
$15 per.
Yeah, 15 Zimbabwean dollars. Done.
No, 15 US dollars. I don't want Canadian dollars and I don't want renminbi.
I'll meet you halfway. Let's go Grenadian.
Grenadian?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought about sponsorship. I'm terrible at this. This podcast is not at the beginning of my multimedia experience. It's very much after 10 years of blogging. And I can say, as I've wholly fucked up how to blog and market that, I'm not expecting me to like really make a lot of money off this podcast either, just yet anyway.
That's all part of the fun. I think I would like to do a podcast, but I don't know what I would do it about.
And that is what I said this. The girl I talked to a couple weeks ago, I interviewed on my podcast, she was the one who's like, when I said those words that you just said, she's like, you sound like my colleague who says blah, 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 the same thing. Why don't you just start already? And the next week, I got hammered and I did a rough draft. And the next day, when I sobered up, I'm like, okay, that's it. Press record. Let's do this. And now you're here on my podcast.
It's really good. Yeah, I'll try, but I won't listen back to anything I've recorded because I actually hate the sound of my own voice. So it'll just be a straight record, no editing, and out.
You mean kind of like what this is? So you can have people, hey, are we recording? Oh, we're recording. Oh, hey, do you want to photobomb the podcast? Things like that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Sorry, because I didn't know there was going to be an intro that I wasn't going to. I thought I was going to come on and you're going to go, this is Owen, blah, 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 and I was going to go, hello. I had a voice all worked out.
Well, do you want to do that? Okay, so we can do that. Okay. It's Friday, July 31st, 2020. This is Steven Sersky. This is episode number... I'm going to block that out. Episode number 14 of my podcast. And today I got another special guest, a wholly unremarkable person. But he's a guy I've been working with here in Beijing, China. And I've known him for quite a while. He's mostly the life of the party when he walks in, except when I'm there, of course. But one of the remarkable things that he actually has done, finally, in his life is... he's watched a lot of movies this year. During the COVID lockdown here in Beijing, he sat down and with his fiancée, they have watched one movie every day for the last 6 months for a total of about 180, and that's in addition to his other watching habits that he has, like on flights and trains and whatnot. So in terms of movie watching consumption this year, it's probably over 200, 250. Anyway, with that, let's bring on Owen Johnston.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
It's really gratifying on one level to hear that, like, all your achievements in like 3 or 4 sentences. It's also really upsetting to hear all of your achievements in 3 or 4 sentences.
You're like, yeah, that's
and achievements might be a stretch.
Well, it is an achievement. I mean,
I haven't passively consumed films, but I haven't been super active.
But you still did it. You got up at 5 a.m. today because you agreed to do this today. You got up early and you watched. What movie did you watch today?
It was quite a schlocky Brit sort of. It seemed like it was going to be a Brit gangster flick called Kill List, and it devolved towards the end. But it was fun enough. The usual. We can't think of an ending. Let's do like a satanic rip-off of Wicker Man.
I've never seen that movie, so I actually don't get the reference, but we'll go with it.
Great actor. Great actor. Possibly the best actor's name since Rip Torn. The lead of that film is Edward Woodward.
Edward Woodward. So you come from a land of naming people after what they did. Why would he be called Edward Woodward?
I can only imagine there's 2 genuine possibilities. One, that his parents actually named him that, and they either didn't want him or they wanted to do their best to mask his huge stammer.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like
the other one is that he chose it as a screen name because he wanted people to remember it, and it helped to mask his huge stammer, which can be a real problem for professional actors.
I guess so. By stammer, you mean hammer or no?
Just what's your name? Edward Woodward.
Oh,
yeah.
Stammer. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, we call
stutter. I guess
stutter is what we say. Yes, but okay. So then, did Rip Torn choose his name as a screen name? I don't know. You're the man of the film factoids.
I think he did. Him and Slim Pickens. They just picked amusing names. The Rip Torn was definitely less fun.
Why? It's a good name. I remember because he was in
I mean
Men in Black.
The person was less fun. If anything, Rip Torn is the more fun name than Slim Pickens. But
yes.
Slim Pickens jumped up and down on an atom bomb,
and that's it.
Yeah, that's it by me. Oh, and he was in Blazing Saddles, which that's good enough for anyone.
The most sad part about all of this is that since you pointed out that I have the film studies degree, you don't.
No.
You know far more about movies than I do. It's I want to say sad and pathetic, but it's your achievement. And second of all, I mean I really did move away from watching. I never understood how all of the people in film class would know all of the different little factoids. And I have musician friends that are the same way, that they know all the little minutia. And you're like, do you need to know? I always just wanted to know how to make stuff. I didn't want to know all the little details around the movies. It was interesting, but it never really contributed to actually making movies.
Yeah.
Except for impressing women, maybe. And not even. I don't think women...
It does not work.
No, unless you do that with their target language or something. But even then, no, they don't give a shit. They don't care. Like in an English class, if you're teaching ESL, you cannot go, funny story, Rip Torn's actually a screen name. And it's kind of, because there's also the Slim Picking guys, you see, and they'd be sitting there going, the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we don't watch old movies.
Yeah, more than
anything pre-millennium.
Pre-2018 Avengers, anything before Avengers, it's just, what do you mean Godfather? What is that?
Though I am a big fan of the first Marvel movie. It's they don't play it up too much, but it's...
Which one is that?
It's mid '80s live action one that was meant to be an animated. It was produced by Steven Spielberg. I think it was Spielberg. No, George Lucas. Yeah. George Lucas produced it, and he needed a live action one, so he took this animated film and went, "We'll just make it people." It's Howard the Duck.
Oh God, that one. Oh yes,
that's the first Marvel movie,
and that's a horrid introduction to the Marvel universe. And they went from that to Iron Man.
Pretty much.
That's
there's some great actors in that film.
But Howard the Duck, I always thought was sort of like a quasi horror movie, but I think the only horror came from the fact that it was live action.
It's really hard to tell. Some of the humor in it is very adult,
right?
And then it seems to be aimed at kids in the next scene. It's
right.
It's all over the shop.
But that movie didn't come out at the same time. What was it with that android? Not Reboot.
Reboot, the TV show. That was awesome.
Not the TV show, but there was that android that was in, what was it called? It was in the early 90s. And it was another one. It had a sequel. I can't remember. Faintly remember when it came out, but it was along that whole line of animatronics and stuff like that before Jurassic Park came out. Before it actually got good, back in the old style, late 80s, early 90s animatronics and stuff like that.
So after Johnny 5, but before
something Circuit, Closed Circuit.
Short Circuit. That is Johnny 5.
Yeah, that guy.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
terrifying.
But it was actually a pretty good movie. I remember that one. Or is it?
You can read a book so fast. It's no one should read that quickly.
I think that was like the peak of animatronics, because that's when they made the original Turtles and the second Secret of the Ooze, which, if you watch the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, they're all CGI. They look like shit. But you watch those old Turtle films, they're fantastic. I mean, the artwork the costumes are bar none.
And the actors can actually integrate with each other. Like, they're not just going, imagine there's another actor here. Yeah. It's like, if you hit him, he's going to feel it. I'm also a big fan of Bob Hoskins as Super Mario. That was around the same time.
I never saw that one, but I heard it was terrible.
It's awful. Dennis Hopper is the bad guy in it as well.
And that movie, I never saw it, but I read about it, and they said that movie literally got fucked in production. The producers kept on coming back and saying, no, why don't we do this? And they kept changing the storyline from like the original Super Mario Brothers to what it became, like Bowser's this interdimensional whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work.
The actors stopped learning their lines because they were changing with such regularity. They were just like, fuck it, we'll just make it up on the spot.
That's terrible.
Awful film.
Because that movie came out when the Super Mario Brothers TV show was still going on, and that was actually interesting. It was KNRR Fox in Minnesota, but we didn't get it in Canada. I had to dial in with my TV antennas. I had to fix them a certain way, and I get reception just for that half hour, 4:30 in the afternoon, I think it was. But
that's pretty cool. I used to get Belgian radio in the shower when I was growing up, but no TV.
And that's similar to Super Mario Brothers, isn't it? Belgian radio, same sort of interdimensional. What's going on in this?
Yeah. Phlegm what? That was Mario's catchphrase, if I remember correctly.
They should, but they've never made a animated film for Super Mario Brothers either. Sadly, they should have just taken that live show and then made it into a movie. I don't know why they tried to do all the other crap. But
have you seen the live musicals of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No.
I think you can get them on YouTube. They are cash cows.
No, I can't do that to my childhood.
Yeah, don't. I'll stop there.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first two movies, and then the original cartoon. That's I got to call it at that point, because even the later cartoons, they weren't not as good. Although the video games were okay. I remember those as being okay.
There was like early 90s cartoons. So you had your X-Men, you had your Batman, and I'm not a big superhero fan, but those were good cartoons.
And then Thundercats. Did you guys have Thundercats? Oh, the Tick.
Yeah, I love Thundercats. Sorry, my battery's running out. There we go. Battery solved.
There you go.
I plugged it in. Didn't turn the switch on, did I? What a palaver.
A what?
He-Man. He was a palaver. It's what an unnecessary fuss.
Palava. Is that one of your language's words?
It's a British thing, but it seems quite English. I don't know where I picked, because my parents aren't English, so I'm learning a lot of these Englishisms like first generation, and I don't always use them correctly.
So where do your parents come from?
Oh, they're both. It's not far. They're both Irish, but their colloquial terms are completely different.
So you're more Irish than English.
I'm the first English person in my family.
I'm so sorry.
Which makes rugby matches really depressing, because I go in all green, support Ireland, and then I open my mouth.
Oh, and that's terrible.
It's a real letdown for people, because they think, oh, I've met someone fun. Oh, it's another limey bastard.
Limey bastard. Another tosser. That's what it is. Is that the word that you use all the time?
Tosser. The one that used to annoy me on Sopranos is when they couldn't say twat properly. Are we allowed to say twat on your podcast?
I don't know. Are we? Let me check with the producer. They're busy.
But yeah, the Sopranos,
they're in production right now.
It'd be this really serious, like, brutal scene, and they'd be like, "You fucking twat," and it removes all the menace from the word. It seemed quite childish and silly to hear, "You fucking twat. I'm gonna twat you around your twatting head." Yeah, it's a really horrible word.
Do people actually get offended by twat?
No, I got offended by how inoffensive it was.
Oh, okay, right.
So if the Sopranos, they're kicking the shit out of someone, and they go, "Hey, you're a real silly Billy," and it's like, okay, the suspension of disbelief is now gone.
What episode is that they call someone a twat? Because I'm watching Sopranos.
It happens, but it's in like the second half of the seasons. It's with his nephew a lot of the time. His nephew and Sir Ben Kingsley keep talking about, because Sir Ben, he pops up when he's trying to sell a movie script.
Okay, right. Yeah. See, I'm on. Episode number 3 of Sopranos, season 6. I'm almost finished. Don't fucking talk about it. I don't like talking about TV series that I'm watching, because people are like, "Oh, did you get to this part?" You're like, "No, I didn't."
No, I completely understand. As soon as I start talking about something and someone goes, "I'm watching it," all right, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, the other one that I have to finish is Vikings, but I'm almost finished season 4, and I'm going to start season 5 shortly.
I meant to start it and I watched like 2 episodes and I got distracted by something shiny. I really like the haircuts, especially that guy who in the beginning who's balding quite hard. There's something about him that I found quite charming.
Which one? Oh, the Floki.
He's like the assistant to the badass.
Floki. Yeah, he's the shipbuilder.
That's the one, Floki. Yeah. There's something I like about him.
I think a lot of people like him for that, his free style on that show. Yeah, I'll have to finish watching. I don't have time. I mean, it's got other things I got to get done, which is, I don't understand how you have time to watch all these movies that you've been watching. How do you make time? You watch more movies than most movie critics do.
I don't know, because I watch a lot of TV as well, and I rewatch a lot of TV.
So, like, what do you watch for TV then?
Well, recently I finished watching Cheers again.
Again?
Yeah, I've watched it a few times, because I get more out of it when I learn. And I constantly have The Simpsons on. I finished a French sci-fi called Missions. There's an American one, Armando Iannucci's new one, Avenue 5. Over lockdown, I've probably watched about 10 or 15 different TV seasons, shows ranging from 1 or 2 seasons to like 15 seasons.
Do you not do anything else with your day, with your life?
Well, that's the thing. I've been studying languages. I've been teaching myself the piano. We go for walks. I go exercise. But there's just so much time each day. I know that's not what people usually say, but there's just too much time.
But you also get up very early. So then if you get up early, that means that you're watching TV like basically right from the get-go Or do you have like a certain?
yeah, pretty much.
Do you have a certain time that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then languages, and then that, and then I'm going to watch TV?
I tend to get up, have my breakfast, maybe watch some YouTube, watch some TV, and then do the chores, and then it's like 10 a.m. and then this is like shit what I'm going to do for the rest of the day.
But you get up early because you need that time to get. I can't get up early, and I certainly can't do what you do in terms of like you need time to not think, but like to extend your day, because I understand what you said it before, whereas like if you get up and just go to work, then it's like all of a sudden your day is robbed from you. But if you sort of bookend your work with other things, you feel a little bit more lively.
It's not even that. I don't like rushing. I love getting to places early. So I want to get up in the morning. I want to slowly have my breakfast. I want to walk around in my pants for like an hour and then slowly get dressed and then amble to work. It's such a rushing stresses me out. I'm that person who gets to the airport 5 hours early.
Oh, wow.
With a book, because it's just more relaxing. I know I'm at the airport. If I was at home, I would be thinking, oh, I've got to leave for the airport in an hour. So let's just go to the airport and then not worry about it.
That's true. Yep. No, and I'm definitely the person like, no, I have to leave in 35 minutes so I can get there exactly 45 minutes before the flight leaves. And I hope nothing fucks up along the way, or else I would have been panicked, except this job sort of allows for some of these things to happen, right? But
yeah, we've definitely had some colleagues that have just missed flights through their own hubris, and HR have just gone, we put you on the next flight, and they're like, shit, how much do I have to pay to? And they're like, no, just try not to do it again.
But when that happens, though, you think it's all fun and games, but it's like then you are the one sitting in the airport for 6 hours until the next flight actually takes off anyway, because that flight could be delayed for any number of reasons. Like you're playing with fire with that one. It's a tricky.
Yeah.
You're gambling, and you might not win.
Listen, you know this when we talk about investments and stuff. I am like so totally risk adverse. In some ways, like. I don't want to risk being late for a plane. I don't want to risk money. I'd rather just have less money and just know what I have.
But wouldn't you?
Because it adds.
Yeah. See, I'd rather just make more money.
Well, that's it. It's the story of the lazy Montenegrin, isn't it? Like.
No idea what that is. What do you mean, lazy Montenegrin?
So, it's one we heard in Slovenia, and I really liked it because in Slovenia everyone thinks Montenegrins are super lazy, and it's about this guy who's sitting on the edge of a river, fishing, having a bit of a nap, and a guy comes up to him and goes, oh, why don't you buy more fishing rods? Then you catch more fish. And the Montenegrin's like, and then what? And he goes, well, then you can keep some, sell some. And he's like, and then what? And then you could hire people for more. And it goes on and on and on until like, you get a boat, and then what? And then you can hire a captain, and you can retire, and then what? And then you can just relax. Like, why go through all those steps to relax when you can just relax? Yeah, I'm never going to retire, so I'm going to relax now. That's why I took the job that we're not talking about, because
and
it's
that is well, I'm keeping job talk separate. Anyway, with the in terms of retirement, you're not the only one to say this. That our generation will not have retirement, and it's sort of scary. But even my father basically worked up until the day he died. But he retired, and then he had another job lined up. He created his own job, but. Yeah, no, retirement in the sense that you're going to hit an age and then not have anything else to do except your pet projects. Nah, that's wishful thinking. Not going to happen.
Yeah. Also, people without jobs don't live as long as people with jobs. Like we're artificially extending our lives even longer. I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
I don't know. What age do you want to live till?
Well, I'm a big fan of Logan's Run. Obviously, I've passed the point where I can die at 30. Great 70s sci-fi starring.
I've heard of it.
Starring Jenny Agutter, who gets naked in every film, and the guy who is Austin Powers' boss, and he's in Cabaret with Liza Minnelli, English actor. What's his name? But it's basically about a future world where once you hit 30, you go to a rebirth ceremony where you get vaporized.
That doesn't sound.
But I like the idea of euthanasia, especially like in Soylent Green.
So, what age would you want to live till?
And I'm not talking about young Chinese women.
Hey-o! But so then what age would you want to live till until you get euthanized?
I think like late 70s, 80s would be like the absolute max. But I think as long as I put in, like, if I get to 60 and it's like, you know what, I've had enough. I understand that I can't just flick a switch. I'll have to go through some paperwork, maybe wait a couple of years, and then they'll go, are you sure? And I go, yeah, I'm definitely sure. Yeah. It's just like, I imagine it's not super easy right now to get a hysterectomy at a young age, but it is possible. And that's kind of what I want euthanasia to be. I want it to be possible without being easy.
And you're aligning it with hysterectomies. That's good. Wow.
I just really like that word. I was desperate to chuck it into this podcast somewhere.
Have you looked into get a hysterectomy at all? I mean, why not?
No.
Because I mean, you're saying that if you hit 60, you've done all these things and you're done. Then what will have you accomplished by the time you're 60 that you're like, okay, I don't need to do anymore?
Oh no, probably nothing. I don't think I have really many goals or accomplishments left now. I'm just still having fun.
You did talk about this a couple of weeks ago, and it was almost, and this is actually kind of why I wanted you on the podcast. Like, hey, remember that time? Then that this guy worked with us, yeah, and like he's no longer with us. But pay.
Yeah.
I mean, let's hope that nothing bad happens. But I mean, you were basically happy with what you've accomplished in life so far.
I mean, no one joins our job to achieve.
But they come here. They
do want to accrue, not to achieve.
They want to come to China anyway. A lot of people do come to China to experience it, which is why I was asking you why you came to China. I mean, and I ask a lot of people about why they came to China. Why a lot of it is about jobs. Like when I talk to my Chinese teachers, and they're like, "Well, why did you come to China?" I'm like, "For the work, for the money." I mean, I wasn't really interested in the culture. I knew about the culture. And especially with my Chinese teachers now, they're like, "Well, why do you want to learn Chinese?" And I'm sitting there going, "Well, I'm learning Chinese now because, first of all, my job allows me that time to do it, that structure to do it. But number two, I don't see myself staying in China for my entire life. But I see me being here enough time that once I leave, it's going to be when I apply for the next job or I go to the next place, they're going to say, 'Oh, you've been in China. Do you know Chinese?' And I'll be like, 'Yes, I do know Chinese.'"
Then you want to be able to say yes.
And actually say yes, not just lie about it on my resume like I do with my other languages, like Latin and Greek. Ha 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 ha.
Basically, I had 2 job offers. One was in Oslo, one was in Beijing. The one in Beijing started a couple months earlier, so I was like, yeah, all right.
But what job was that, though, in Beijing?
So the one in Oslo was for a university helping international students to settle in Norway.
Okay.
And the one in Beijing was working for EF.
And you chose EF. Best decision ever.
Even I think that was crazy.
Now,
and I'm the man who's achieved everything.
For the people who aren't familiar with EF, EF is one of the chain schools, and they're not just unique to China. They have schools all over the world, basically, but they're all
one of the biggest family-owned businesses in the world.
But they have franchises, so they're not all owned by the same people. And that's where, if you apply to EF, this is where you have to do your due diligence in terms of checking out management, because sometimes people buy these franchises or get involved with it, and it's not just English First or Education First or EF or whatever they go by, because there's people who play off of the name, and you have to be careful what you're actually getting into for those who are interested in going to teach English overseas.
Though I would say if anyone does get to go to EF as like the official EF, it was really good. I got all of my teaching qualifications there.
Right.
You don't get the most pay, but the job is pretty relaxed. And
what qualification did you get?
Because I had nothing when I arrived, so I got my cert, which is like a CELTA equivalent, and I got my diploma, which is like a Delta equivalent.
Oh wow, okay. But you had your master's at that time already, though.
Yeah, I had my master's before I came back to China.
So you're another one of these overeducated people who's doing ESL because, like...
No. I failed every high school exam. The only reason I got into university is because at that point in British history, the government wanted everybody and their dog to go to university. And then I just failed my way to the top,
so
both academically and in terms of my relationships.
So then the question is, like, where's your dog?
My dog would probably get into a better university, but unfortunately, Finn is long dead.
Oh,
I couldn't hack that level of competition,
well, so he
but
failed
I could
first then.
hack the dog.
Or wait a minute. Oh, so that's what happened to him. Backyard fertilizer. That's terrible. Now I'm
And
gonna have.
basically, I charmed my way into I was at bad universities. I was at a terrible university. I got work experience at a slightly better university. For my final year of my undergrad, I went to a middle of the road university because I wanted to move from the city I was in. And then I charmed my way into a good university in the UK and for my master's just by sheer luck and
So you
and one bouquet of flowers.
you basically, through your words, slept your way to the top, but without sleeping with people. You just like.
I mean, I failed everything, and I have a master's degree from Edinburgh University.
In what?
Finance and economics.
And these are the people that control the banks in our current.
I was the only person on my course who went to state school.
That means nothing to me, but okay, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I was the only person in my course that didn't go to private school.
Oh, okay. You're one of those people.
Yeah.
Public education, which so you're the rags to riches story. I mean, that means you have an even better story than those people.
No, I imagine their stories are far more varied and interesting than mine because riches make people more interesting.
Do you think so?
Or extreme poverty. Middle of the road. There's not.
Well, you walked across England, right? Or,
yeah, but again, that's such a middle class white boy thing to do.
So is going to teach English in China.
Yeah.
So is starting a podcast or a blog, I should say. Oh, what beers?
Yeah, but I'm really enjoying this.
Which one are you?
I'm not
now?
sure how on topic we are, but I'm just getting some grapes. I'm not sure how on topic we are, but I'm enjoying this free-flowing exchange of ideas.
We're fully on topic. You're graping. You're having grapes.
Yeah.
Which kind of grapes are they? Are they Xinjiang grapes?
No, they're from the local market.
The fact that you are eating on video with a microphone will bring up one of my biggest pet peeves with filmmakers, and they should listen very carefully to this. I absolutely fucking hate it when filmmakers mic eating scenes. They absolutely do not need to mic any of those eating scenes at all.
Kurt Russell, death proof.
No need. There's another one at some film festival. I can't remember what it was, but it was an Italian film, and they mic'd the eating scene. Why did you do that? We know what eating sounds like. No.
We've watched one or two, and it sort of heightens the tension because someone is getting annoyed.
Because someone's sitting there going, why did you mic the trebly eating of the forks on the plates? Why would you do that? How amateur are you? Who funded this project? Who's the producer? How could the actors sign on to a scene like that? They should have asked, excuse me, Mr. Director, Mr. Sound Guy, are you going to mic this? Are you going to Foley this shit over? Or please, just delete the fucking sound for the eating scene, please, because it's aggravating. But I'm glad you demonstrated exactly my worst pet peeve about the film industry.
Again, if that's the worst pet peeve you have, you are a pretty peeve-free gentleman. Because it doesn't come up that often.
I'm pretty open with my filmmaking abilities and choices and expressions, but eating, it's like you don't need to do that.
Oh, I did used to write short films as well that were paid for by a convicted pedophile.
Oh, there you go. Is that why you talk about pedophilism all the time?
I just find it really interesting. It's just really. No, he was a big pop culture guy in the UK from probably the late 50s until about 5 or 6 years ago. And we did work from just writing. So a lot of my friends at uni were film students, and they had all the technical knowledge, but they were really bad at coming up with interesting ideas. They were great at executing interesting ideas, but they were terrible at coming up with them. And I was terrible at reining ideas in. So we combined. Yeah. And I'd march around a living room for like 5 hours in the middle of the night, and they'd just go, stop, come back. It was great. And they gave me money.
And then, wait, so you're writing these, or you're just like, you're hashing them out in sketch form in front of a camera?
No, basically, my partner, my main writing partner was a guy called Paul, and he would sit at his laptop at the desk in the living room and write everything down. And I would just march and ponce and flance around until he told me to stop and come back. And then he'd take all the shit that I set out. So after like 2 hours of me ranting, there would be like 2.5 minutes of something decent, possibly. And he would make it all work. He was the real, even though he wasn't doing the creative stuff, he made the creative stuff. And yeah, and then I got to flounce around in front of camera and shout at actors and stuff. It was great.
Did the actors ever respond to what you were doing, or were they told just let him work?
Just let him, yeah, like Klaus Kinski style. Just scream and bellow, and the director goes, "It's just Klaus.
It's just him. Just get it done." Yeah, that's fantastic. So 2 hours. How much did you get paid for it?
It depends. I think the best ones we got paid for were for some music videos we did for a small band that this guy was patronizing. Right. And we got paid like 50 quid each for 2 days work. But that was with all the costs and stuff covered as well. And when you're a student, your time has no value. So it was 50 quid was great.
Yeah, 50 quid buys a lot of pints, a lot of beer.
It did. I remember one night, we had the band staying at my friend's house, and we all went out and got absolutely trashed. And the lead singer and guitarist were asleep on the fold-out bed in the living room, and me and the drummer had fallen asleep on the floor. And we all knew where we were. We woke up in the morning, and me and the drummer were in the bed, and the other two were on the floor. And no one has any recollection of when and how that happened.
Well, that happens when you do that sort of work. Drinking.
He was a good drummer. Really good drummer.
So wait a minute, you weren't the lead singer. You weren't part of the band. You just ended up.
I wasn't in the band.
You just ended up in the bed with the drummer. That happens. I mean, I was a drummer. I still am a drummer technically. I guess it's one of those things. One of those things I don't talk about, and probably why I instinctively never told you I'm not a drummer. I am a drummer, but I've never told you.
Because you can tell even from here that my erection is knocking the laptop.
Yeah, and I also don't talk about it very much anymore. I'm not like some of our other...
My erection?
I'm not like Steve Black, where he talks about all of his music and stuff like that all the time, but me, I don't.
Yeah, let's diss Steve Black. Fuck you, Steve.
I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that from you. He'll be like, who? Owen Johnston? That guy? Right, noob. He's only been in China for what, 6 years, 7 years? Nothing. Steve Black invented
me and Steve have beef going way back to when he was Steve Beef.
No, not at all. Not at all. There's no beef in that one. Hashtag fail.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, Steve is a lovely man, and he's always been kind to me.
And he's also one of those charming people, kind of like me and kind of like you. In that, I mean, he talks his way. You can sit there. That's actually, he was on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and that one topped out at 3 hours. And we could have, it was actually longer, but I had to press record at some point. So I just pressed record, and then everything you hear after that is basically an unedited conversation between him and me, talking about music and why he came to China and stuff like that. So I don't see with this whole idea of this podcast and talking to people and whatnot. It's basically just to collect these different stories of the people I meet while I'm traveling, and because we all have that sort of reason why we came here, not just to China but to other countries and stuff like that. So it's neat, yeah. And I think people, especially my target audience is my hometown people who don't typically travel overseas. right? They don't go, they don't live around the world. They just stay at home. They learn about it usually through someone else who's gone to go teach English somewhere else.
My hometown, almost exactly the same.
And that's basically, it's like me just giving a presentation on what it's like to actually live overseas, and this is it. You know,
do you think this will encourage people?
Well, when they hear that you failed your way to the top, I think a lot more people will be emboldened to go ahead and be like, yeah, well, if he can fuck his way up to the top, literally and figuratively speaking, then certainly, why not? Why can't other people?
More figuratively than I would have liked.
But what is it that you have in your hand right there?
A pen.
It's a pen. I thought that was a makeup brush. I literally thought you were doing your eyebrows.
No, I whenever
Not
I'm
that they
Skyping,
need to be done.
Whenever I'm Skyping, I'm always writing stuff down as well, just in case something interesting comes up. Because I know I do it a lot, but I don't like interrupting people when they're speaking.
So what did you write down so far?
Absolutely nothing. Could you just let me talk?
Oh wow! So there's like nothing interesting happening, or is that what you're saying?
No, you've just let me spin out. It's been really relaxing.
So at what point would you cut someone off and say, "Okay, shut up"?
Oh, it's a hard way. It's usually like I'm happy to listen to most inane stuff.
Right.
Hence the job satisfaction.
Yep, agreed.
But I don't know. I used to be really outspoken against what I perceived as systemic and societal wrongs.
No, you didn't.
When I was at EF, I did.
Don't lie to me.
I did get in. No, I got in loads of trouble constantly for arguing publicly and loudly with management.
Oh, well.
Jonathan Dixon actually told me once when we were working together that I'd delayed any possible promotions by at least a year. Not through my ability to teach or my interactions with other staff, but purely on my picking fights with national managers.
Like what? What would you say?
We did one project where we had to think of ways to increase teacher retention in China. And we were told, our group at the beginning was told, we couldn't do it with money. Money was not an option. Money was off the table.
Right,
and when we started our presentation in front of all the Beijing managers and a few of the national managers, I opened with, I know you guys want to know, but we've been told we are not allowed to talk about money at any portion of this presentation. If you have any questions, please ask national manager, blah, 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 who insisted we didn't talk about it during the presentation.
Right.
And then I said, now the presentation begins. And that didn't sit well with most people.
With the management who said, don't talk about money.
Yeah, I just separated it from the presentation, and then I figured I could mention it. Apparently that was not good.
No.
I also embarrassed my Chinese boss in front of his sales team when he was really rude to a member of staff, and I didn't appreciate that. I almost got fired, I think, for that one.
Almost, but you didn't.
No, I actually got a bonus that year of my contract. Because
you see, and I tell people, there's a lot of young people that we work with, and I warn them, like, listen, be careful about being outspoken. A couple of things could happen, and you might not want these things to happen. One of the worst things that could happen is that you get promoted. And it's not because, it's because if you're going to talk shit, then management, and it's not even like your manager, it's going to be the manager's manager. Yes, you have a vision. And it's like, now you have to you have to do your game for the company. You've just been called out. They called your bluff. And if you can't put up, then they're like, oh, well, he's no longer with us. Or you get reassigned to an even worse division. And it's like the company has the last laugh again. Like, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, so be careful. Yeah, and that's the thing. That I mean, you become stuck in a time warp. You're like, I should have just shut up and done my job.
I've mellowed a lot. I don't get in fights anymore, physical or verbal.
Okay, but that's in terms of work. Now, what about outside of work?
Again, a while ago when I was playing football in Beijing, I had a fiery side to me. We were playing a friendly game, and the team who were playing against us were really dirty. Like the whole way through, they were cheating and hitting and stuff. And I was like keeping everyone calm because I was responsible. And then right at the end, as a guy was running away from me, he elbowed me in the face.
Oh, ouchies.
And hit my lip. And I thought, I didn't split my lip or anything, but it hit me. And I just saw red. I kicked his ankles in, threw him to the floor, got down to shout at him, realized he was twice the size of me. Like literally, this guy was huge compared to me. I thought, shit, what do I do? So I doubled down. I had the tooth missing then. I had the head, and I just screamed in his face until I was carried away. And apparently I almost started a brawl like between the two. They managed to calm it down. But if I'd got him that far and I hadn't screamed, I think he probably would have hit me. It was much better for everyone for me to scare him.
Right. So
I felt great.
What did you scream at him?
Just that his behavior was unacceptable and he really should have a long, hard think about what he did. Like, it wasn't.
Did you say it that aggressive way? Your behavior is unacceptable and you should have a long, hard think about what you just did, sir.
Yeah, I think it was along those lines, but I was like nose to nose. It was.
But that same tone of voice.
The endorphin rush was huge. I mean, I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, but you're not a threatening person, so like to hear this sort of story from you, it's like I don't take you seriously. I mean,
I think most of the time I'm not, and I'm not a scary person. Even when I try and put on a scary voice, it doesn't work. But there's something. There was a competitive element to me that if I saw someone doing something wrong, I quite happily kick them in the face to right that wrong. So now I know that probably doesn't help.
This is very much your upbringing versus mine, because I never really got into fights at all. I was always a verbal, and I was a drinker. Like I would drink and then I would try to correct the world that through verbal blah blah blah. It was never through fists.
That's probably the best way.
Yeah, but no. Because then people's like, Steve, shut the fuck up already. Or like, all these others, like, just stop talking. Stop finding every little hole in the argument, right? I mean, so yeah, it just bothered people another way. And then I just realized. What's that? You're chewing now. No. And so what I would do, what I finally just stopped doing was that I'm like, you know what? There's a solution to this. Number one, if I want to keep drinking, I'll just drink at home. Number two, by drinking at home, I don't need to talk to people. This is fantastic. So I just don't talk to people anymore. And I don't drink as much at home either. That's why I started a podcast.
Good reason. No, just when I was a kid, I was very small, and I'm not saying I got bullied in any special way. Like kids get bullied from time to time, and my mum was always, go tell your teacher, and my dad was like, punch them.
Punish you or what?
No, he was like, if someone's picking on you, mum was like, go tell the teacher, and dad was like, someone's picking on you, just smack them.
Ah, yeah, okay.
They'll stop picking on you. Yeah. So I definitely went down the smack people approach and got in a lot of fights. And it's really good fun, and it gets all the tension out, and then you can make up again afterwards. That's the good thing about being like a boy who gets into fights. There's no long-lasting ramifications. When you become an adult, then it becomes an issue. You have to fight before you're 16. Otherwise, you can't really do it.
Why? Tell me more. What do you mean?
I mean, like, if you punch someone at school when you're 14, maybe you get detention or suspended. If you punch someone at a bar when you're 24, I mean, you're going to court.
Only if you're caught.
This is true. I'm not subtle. But I mean, like, even if I'm not caught as a teenager, no problem. If I am caught as a teenager, no real problem.
No problem.
There's nothing on the line.
Yeah, you are right. And in terms, actually, there's a lot of people who actually say that as you get older, when you get into fights, it's not even so much you're going to go to court. It's that you could go to court, but there's also diseases, like bloodborne diseases. You could hurt yourself, you break your arm, you cause yourself own physical injury that just you don't need to deal. You don't want to be mending a broken hand because someone said something to you. I mean, unless it's really bad or like someone really, really insulted your wife or your girlfriend's
your hand looks really fragile,
but you don't want to be getting into fights because it just doesn't fix anything, and then you have to deal with the the fallout from it at all, and it's not worth it. But I never really got into fight. The last big fight I would have got into, I was part of a Ukrainian polka band, and we were at the Vegreville Pisanka festival for Canada Day, and what had happened was that I was following this one lady around because I was attracted to her. Not following, but I was pursuing her, and we were drinking and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, these three guys show up, and they were known as the hockey players. And this girl that I was interested in had this gay friend, flamboyantly gay friend, frail little guy. I mean, toothpick. And they started picking on him. And so I intervened and I went over and said, what the fuck is your problem? Where are you guys from? And stuff like that. And so they just turned their attention on me and I said, fuck you. And I tried to walk away instead. And I was wearing a hoodie at that time, which is a stupid idea. They grabbed the hoodie and they, basically started punching me. Had to go to the hospital to get a couple stitches for that one. And then 6 months later, I get this message from my sister-in-law and she says, did you visit this hospital in Alberta? I'm like, well, yes, I did. She's like, you have to go back to the hospital and get tested for AIDS. I'm like, what? Because that emergency room had been found out to have had several cases that had spread through the emergency equipment that they were using. Luckily, I don't have AIDS. Yeah, so that was kind of like, okay, right, thanks. So, yeah, don't get into fights.
Watch the film Red, White, and Blue.
Which one is that?
I think it's from about 15 years ago. It's about these group of boys who take advantage of this girl who's clearly upset and end up having sort of group sex together. And then
so far, that's very different from the story I just said.
And then she... it turns out she's contracted AIDS and they all get it from her, and her, like, not brother, but like an older man who sort of looks after her, not a pimp either, goes to them one by one and kills them after she kills herself due to the stress of the event.
All right, still very different.
Like Dead Man in Shoes.
Very different story from the.
It just had AIDS in it.
Yeah.
Also,
AIDS.
that film with John Lithgow where he plays twins.
That also has AIDS in it. Does it?
Yeah, half of John Lithgow has AIDS. The gay half. It was an '80s TV film. It wasn't great, but
I remember that one coming out. That I couldn't say I remember it fully though.
No, again, there's occasional pockets of knowledge I have that I don't know where I got an American 80s TV movie from, but it's there and I'm going to use it. So, Bait, you didn't like it.
I'm going to finish this. Which one should I have next? Should I have the Pilsner or should I have the, I'll have the Pilsner.
All right, you have the Pilsner. I'm going to run to the bathroom, but it's really close. So I'll be back before you finish your beer.
But you have to microphone the piss because, along with the food eating. And this podcast is sponsored by me, Steven Sersky. Living in Beijing, China since 2014. There we go. Edmund Backhouse Pilsner by Great Leap Brewing. The other one I had was the Little Limey Bastard from Slow Boat, and I've got some Arrow Factory in there too. My Jing A is a different beer.
Oh, did you hear that?
Not very much. It wasn't mic'd very well.
Jolly good. What do you reckon? Some leftover rum, vodka.
Which one is that?
This thing from Japan. This is quite...
White peach.
Yeah, I'll have that. That's a good shout. So what were you talking about?
Sponsorship, about how I sponsor this podcast.
I think you should consider like NASCARing this So you get your grey sheet, and you charge everyone like $2, and you cover it.
I'm looking at the gray sheet and I go, first of all, that's not a new idea at all. It's definitely something that has come into, I was thinking about before. And one of the reasons why is that I'm not against selling this at all. It's very much, I very would. Oh, there we go. There's my video. What happened? Oops. Yeah, but the idea actually with the whole sponsorship, I had this idea years ago when I tried to start monetizing my blog. What I wanted to do was actually get like a green screen or a green hat or a green shirt. And then what I would do is that I would film it. And then after that, I would sell advertising for it. And so I could just green screen, block it out, chroma key it out, and then put in the advertiser that paid me. And then, run that for a few weeks, and then redo the same video, but just swap out the advertiser. That was the idea I had in my mind. I never did it because then I was like, no way, man, I'm not selling out, man. Sponsorship, no way, man. I'm gonna do this for the art's sake. I'm doing this for the information, man. I'm doing it for the people, man. I'm doing it for myself, man. And that's why I still have a day job. And
but the day job's nice.
Yes. In terms of sponsorship, getting stickers on here, I wouldn't be against it. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly something. The problem is, I can't really ask Great Leap because they know that I'll use their products anyway. They're like, why would we pay him for something he's going to do?
Just ask narcissistic individuals,
like doctors.
No, like me and Steve Black. People who just go, a couple of quid to put my face on your chest.
Sure. You know what? Give me a couple quid. I'll then you got to give me the sticker to put on my chest. I'll do it. Why not?
There's enough people like me with more money than ambition.
Well, a soccer jersey, a football jersey. I'll do that. I'll wear a football jersey with your face on it if you're going to pay me to do it. Why not?
I could definitely make one of those.
Get me one, I'll do it, and I'll even say that this episode's brought to you by Owen Johnston, football jersey specialist. Bait. Okay, so the story behind this movie is that when you started watching all these movies months ago, whatever it was, there was two that I actually paid attention to. First of all, number one was the George Clooney movie, Up and Away, I think.
Yeah, Up in the Air.
Up in the Air.
So that was to me by one of our colleagues.
Right, and it's fitting to our life. But then the other one that I saw go through your feed was Bait, and I thought it would be interesting because it reminded me of Alexander Dovzhenko's films. He's a Ukrainian filmmaker from the 1910s, 1920s, maybe later than that, like around the Russian Revolution, Soviet Revolution, and whatnot. And I was thinking, I thought it was going to be an old school movie. And I got through the first 3 minutes the first time I watched it. I'm like, this is terrible. This is black and white shit, and it's out of sync, and it's this and that. And then I mentioned this to you a couple days ago, and you're like, no, that's the point. It was shot on Super 8. It was redubbed afterwards. It's made in 2018. And so then I watched it, and I'm like, it's actually a very good movie. And it's 90 minutes, which is perfect length, because you don't want anything longer than 90 minutes. I mean, anything longer than 90 minutes is just wank tardation already.
We've been talking about this every time we turn on a film and we see 2 hours, 50 minutes. We're like, can it really justify it? There's a few films that can. I think The Bridge Over the River Kwai can justify that.
Never saw it, but with that, I've been to that bridge in Thailand, I think it is, or is it Myanmar?
It's starring what do you call him? Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's very good in it.
It does not star Obi-Wan Kenobi. It stars that guy who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi. And what's his name again?
Alec Guinness.
That's who it is. Yeah, never seen it.
He's also in another long classic.
Something called Star Wars?
Really, no, he's in Dr. Zhivago.
Never seen that either.
That one's not as much fun, but it's still quite fun. No, Bait was really interesting, and yeah, I liked the way the sound was all recorded afterwards, so it gave everything sort of a.
But the story was
haunted
actually pretty
feeling.
good. Yeah, it did. But it was also the fact that it was like literally made 2 years ago, and they overdid it. But they shot it in an old sort of style. Was actually very good. I quite enjoyed it. It took me 3 days to watch it, I think. But I mean, it was because I just watched.
But it kind of is a reflection of Cornish life, because the life they're trying to live is that's 100 years past. Like a commercial fisherman of that scale doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny that he kept on going, no, fish. I want to be a fisherman. You know, we're going to fish. And the other guys are like, no, tourism is where it's at, man. I mean, you got to do tourism, not fishing.
Lessons to be learned about holding on to culture and tradition needlessly.
Yeah. So
at your own cost.
So drop it. Get rid of your culture. Restart. Do it again. You know, do it better this time, right? Why not?
Maybe we could choose a film in future and watch it and then, like, come back and discuss it, because I've got some trash.
Yeah. Okay. For those who haven't seen this list, and I'm going to put it up on the show notes for this episode. A lot of the movies that you have watched are not what people would think about watching. Now, I do know one guy back in my hometown who would probably be very interested in this list, and that's why I'm asking you for it. Actually, two guys, and I know that they would listen. They would look at that and go, "Oh my God, he saw that movie," and I would be like, "I have no idea about this," but definitely they would connect with some of these films that you're seeing. Your movies, how do you pick them? What's your? Where do you find these things?
It's just a real scattergun approach. It's like you go down a rabbit hole, and you just. So I found out by accident that, like, Michael Fassbender grew up in a very small, very crappy town in Northern Ireland, and then we just got a whole load of Michael Fassbender films. Things like Battlefield Earth, I've always wanted to watch because it's meant to be so bad. One of my favorite films. It was so much
No,
fun
you can't
to
even
watch.
lie about that. You're promoting this film because I don't know if you're a Scientologist or whatever, but it's not working.
It was so funny. I'd say like 80% of this film was a Dutch angle. Like, it's hysterical.
Right.
But then serious stuff tends to be less fun. Up in the Air that you mentioned, my takeaway from that was very different to most people I talked to about it. They saw it as a happy ending. I saw it as absolutely miserable dead man. The same with It's a Wonderful Life. I thought that was the most horrible film.
But It's a Wonderful Life. Like, it's been a while since I've seen it, but that is sort of meant to make you think and ponder and go, ugh, life is so depressing.
No, I think, when he doesn't commit suicide at the beginning of the film, or just after the beginning of the film, and his guardian angel comes and shows him around, I think he did commit suicide. I think he's in hell.
So that's the whole film, is that he's
the whole film is him in his own personal hell, because all he ever wanted to do was leave and explore, and the whole film is about how he can't, and he's responsible for everybody else, and they're all happy because of his sacrifices, but he can never be happy. He doesn't even like his family.
You make a good point. So then, wait a minute. Have you looked up on the forums whether or not other people agree with you, or is it like?
Oh, see, I have no idea how the internet works. I've never been on a Reddit or a 4chan.
What's 4chan?
So, I think it's a city near Shenzhen.
Is it? Could be. Okay. But we also want to talk about this Japanese gun movie that you came up with, which.
Oh yes, I'll get that. Gun Woman.
Which I don't know how did you find this movie?
I was looking for a Korean movie that I'd watched a while ago that I really enjoyed called Save the Green Planet, which is a very, very good satire, maybe a bit long, but it's very funny, very dark. It's got the best comedic scene I've ever seen in any film, where a police officer is being attacked by a swarm of bees.
Right.
And he's firing his gun into the bees. And then as he fires, the camera cuts away to another section, and you see a single bee drop out of the air that carries on. The funniest thing I've ever seen. It's not funny to explain. But I went down a bit of a rabbit hole on recommended movies. And
so what's the connection?
Just on IMDb or something. If you follow enough links, you'll get somewhere odd. And I found all these weird Japanese things. There's another one I'm downloading at the moment called, I think it's called Tsubakan Boy, and it's about a girl who has to dress up like a tomboy, but it's right on the edge of low grade softcore pornography and an actual film. So Gunwoman starred a pornographic actress,
right?
And
as her first serious debut or whatever, something like that.
Apparently she's done loads of these films that are on the edge of what could be considered like legitimate cinema,
right?
And the idea was just so ridiculous.
Okay, so set it up. What's the story?
Okay, so
don't have to give away the ending, but I mean, what's happened?
A man has his wife killed by this billionaire Yakuza mob boss's son. And he breaks his legs and he leaves him for dead, but he survives. And he decides he's going to get revenge on this Yakuza man's son. And he follows him and he watches him for years, and he realizes that this Yakuza guy's son has a particular fetish, which is the only time where he's free of his entourage of bodyguards. And it's when he goes to this special sex club to have sex with corpses. That's the only time he's not surrounded by security. So he comes up with an idea to find someone who he can make appear as a corpse and then get them to kill him in the corpse fucking room. So he picks a girl who's strung out on like heroin. He spends literally months feeding her back up, getting her off the drugs, and then another few months turning her into a martial arts like superhero. Then the security around the sex place means that stuff like knives, metals, gun, like they can't be sneaked in. They'll check them. They check them on everyone, but they don't check the corpses. So he cuts into her chest and into her abdomen, and he divides a gun and bullets into 7 or 8 different packages and puts them inside her body, and then kills her with a drug that doesn't kill her. And then when the guy comes in to have sex with his corpse, she rips everything out, constructs the gun, and then a naked, bloody gunfight ensues for the next 15, 20 minutes.
20 minutes of a gun battle after all of that story's been set up?
Yeah.
You would think it'd be, I guess you got to do that. I mean, with that type of movie, you're like, no, we can't just solve this in one bullet.
It's the payoff, yeah.
Yeah, no, you do need 20 minutes of just guns. She can't have good aim. Neither can they, because then that would be like, that just destroyed the whole 70 minutes prior to. How long is the movie?
It's about an hour and a half.
Right.
But what you're saying about them not having good aim, one of the movies we've watched is called Fire Free. It's by a British director called Ben Wheatley. It's got Captain Marvel in it, Brie Larson, and a few others. But basically, it's an hour and a half long gunfight in a warehouse. Cillian Murphy as well is there. It's a good cast. But the whole idea is that there is a story, but the story develops during the gunfight.
Right.
And no one is especially good at hitting the target. They're not bad, but it's more like a realistic gunfight where people are just sort of... So occasionally,
don't hit me! Ow, ow, bang, 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 bang!
Occasionally someone gets hit, but that's it. Like, so many shots are fired. It's like, oh, this is really... It's not the bad guys can't shoot and the good guys can. No one is good, no one is bad, and no one can shoot. And people get hit and they live. They're in pain, but they live for a while because, it's great.
No, that's not a horror movie, is it? It's you guess more of an action movie.
I guess you could say it's a dark comedy. But it's also action.
And we talked about how could you actually group together the movies that you've actually watched? Is there any sort of theme that you've come up with?
I've been because we had miniature themes throughout the process. So we had like weeks where Melissa would choose all of her films. We had animation weeks,
right?
Which I really enjoyed, getting some French 1970s animated sci-fis and Senegalese kids movies and stuff like that, which was great. I did a whole week on an Italian actor, Marcello Mastroianni, which was fun. And occasionally, so one we did recently, and I mean recently in the last couple of days, if I can get it up, was I watched a film and then I realized, it was the Elijah Wood one, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. And it's meant to be an accompanying piece to Falling Down. So we thought, we'll watch Falling Down next. And Bait is meant to be an accompanying piece to something as well. I can't remember what it is.
Because it was so memorable.
Oh, no, it's because I watched it it was on the 5th of February that it was watched. So I'm trying to...
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it? So then you have these micro themes throughout. Wait a minute, who Senegalese kids movies? Which one?
Yeah, it's called Kirikou. It was really, really good. It's based on these folk stories, and it was made in the mid-90s, and there's a whole series of them. But they're quite sweet, and they're very musical. It's like a sort of mini African Disney, but you know how Disney appropriates from other cultures? It's like the Senegalese Disney was appropriating from their own culture somehow.
So, are there a series of movies, or what are they?
Yeah, there's a series of movies, but Kirikou is that's your gateway into Senegalese animated family films.
I'll have to look it up. I haven't seen a Senegalese movie in a very long time. The last,
I mean, it's a French joint, so it's accessible.
Right. Yeah, right. Of course.
It seems most good animation comes from France. That's something I've learned.
How?
I mean, we
must be talking about different animations here. Okay, explain yourself
when you're looking through world cinema for good animated films, so much of it either comes from France or has elements. So North Korea has a lot of animation studios, believe it or not, but they're mostly funded by French companies. There's a series of Czechoslovakian films that were actually animated in France as well. France is like the workhouse of pre-21st century animation for Europe and the rest of the world. And it's really good and really interesting. Sorry, I got all serious there. I won't do that again.
You said two things interesting there about North Korea having the French sponsorship for cartoons, but then it's pre-21st century, because I was thinking South Korea does a lot of the animation for like Family Guy, Simpsons, all the big animation TV
Korea
shows.
does it like... Korea does the physical production, but I think a lot of the ideas and the concepts that France do comes from France. So there's a good graphic novel called Pyongyang about a French illustrator who's living in Pyongyang for a few months to oversee this animation studio. And it's good.
And is he still alive?
Yeah, and it's a really interesting graphic novel that's very level. It's not Korea's shit. It's not Korea's great. It's got lots of pictures of accordions.
Of what? Of accordions?
Yeah.
Why?
You know, like in Fargo? The Koreans love accordions. Same in Dongbei.
Is that a general statement? Is that both North and South Koreans? They all love accordions?
It's something about that region. Because I know Melissa's mum learned the accordion and stuff, which seems really odd. But apparently it's just one of those things that they do in the Northeast.
I'll have to ask some of the people that I know still living in South Korea and ask them, so how's your accordion playing? Is it still...
well, maybe South Korea, they might be sort of against it because it might be seen as a bit northern.
Oh, so it's like that's why the DMZ is there. Yeah, I see. It's the dividing line, accordion, non-accordion. Well,
accordion...
I'm just surprised to hear that accordion would be the instrument that they are so fond of over in North Korea, or that area. Okay, so you got those micro themes. What would you say is like your sort of your favorite micro theme that you've hit so far?
It's really tough. It's more like I keep trying to plug gaps in my knowledge. So
why? In what?
I knew nothing about horror. Horror is not a genre I knew anything about, or noir, but we've watched more of that. And I'd never seen The Godfather before, so I'm trying to plug all these obvious gaps as well. Right. And then the more we watch, the more we change how we watch the films. And
how do you
the more I realize... Well, when you're a kid, you sit down and watch a film, and because you're watching a film and it's Tarzan, you're like, this is a great film.
Okay.
And that's fine. But when you start doing it every day and it becomes a bit more like work, you start looking for. So Melissa's really into atmospheric music. Like that's her thing. So when we watched Black Klansman before this, she was like, I can't stand this fucking movie because the music is all over the place. It's not a counterpoint to anything. It's just a mess.
Right.
I like looking for, what do you call it? Chekhov's dagger, and I like camera angles a lot. I like a good focus shot, and I like a mixed shot. But yeah, looking for themes and reflections in the film, thematically and narratively, is fun. So I think we watch films in a more serious way.
And to be clear, Melissa is your fiance, and you guys live together.
Yes.
So, and you did mention that, like just last week, you were like, I fucking hate this. I want to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I offered you to be on my podcast as sort of a halfway point. So, and I said you should do a 365 because that would take you to a full year's worth of movies.
Yeah. And you're not the first one to say it, and you're not the last, but because I'm such a narcissist as well, as I've mentioned before, that all it takes is someone to go on, do 365. And I'm thinking, this is attention. This is attention I'm getting. But I'm not, because next week I'm flying to Lanzhou. It's going to be another morning waking up. So the Friday coming back from Lanzhou, I'll be finishing work on Thursday, watching a film, going to bed, waking up about 5 a.m., put on a movie, go down for breakfast, go to work, go to the airport, fly back to Beijing, probably get home about 11, 12, because otherwise I can't fit a film in the day. And it's going to
on the
I think
flight.
You could have it.
You could watch it on the flight, which what most normal people do.
No, there's always issues on the flight, and also I'm risk adverse. I'm not willing to do that. And you said you watched Bait over 3 days. I can't do that. A film needs to be watched in one sitting.
Yeah, I used to be like that. Now it's like, no, I'll watch 21 minutes today. That's enough. Then I shut it off. I come back. You should
try novels. They're fantastic for picking up and putting down at different chapters.
Can't do it. I don't have the attention span. Then I forget. Then because with a novel, with the worst part with the novel is that you start reading it, it takes you a while to get into the way that the writer writes, and so it takes about 50 pages to like sort of get into the mode, into the understanding of how the writer actually formulates a sentence and stuff, like it follows his thought pattern. But with a movie, I could watch 21 minutes, which is what an episode of Friends or Family Guy is, so it's very short. I can do that. And movies are spaced out in that act 1, act 2, act 3, those different structures, and usually you can roughly tell, like usually when you have to breathe, like that deep breath, that was literally put in the story structure, so the movie has some sort of pacing to it, and that's usually when I go, okay, done, I can shut this off now.
I can see that. I do have a friend who now works with us, and he has a habit of watching TV shows and films, not by watching them, but by going on YouTube and like going through like the highlights of season 1, or like, let's watch a film in 3 minutes. And it upsets me so much because there's so much more to it. This is why I rewatch everything. Nothing gets watched once, even if I hate it, because I'll have missed something. So everything is rewatched.
Why? What is drawing you to this? What supernatural power is like drawing you to this cultural consumption?
I get something different out of it every time. I think I may be getting to the end of...
In what? Give me an example. Bait. I mean, Bait is one example, but I mean, Gunslinger or whatever it is, the gun movie.
Let's pick a film that I watched before and then Melissa and I watched together.
Not Battlefield Earth. Which one?
Falling Down with Michael Douglas. Okay. I always enjoyed that film, but I thought it was kind of schlocky and it felt really long when I watched it before. And there were elements where I thought maybe I got bored. Now when I watched it, I realized it's actually quite a tight story. And you're talking about Chekhov's dagger or Chekhov's pistol or whatever it is. There's an excellent one in this, which is a blue water pistol. And when I'm watching it now, I realize there is nothing else blue in the whole film. Everything else is like greens and reds and tans, and this is always in the background, but it stands out. It's a bit like what do you call him? Spike Lee did in Do the Right Thing, where he took all the blues and greens out of the film and just said, look, it's a hot day, make everything look hot.
That's what the French filmmakers did back in the 80s or the 70s.
Yeah. I know
Godard and
nothing.
Truffaut, they all did that.
And I'm still learning. But the first time I watched Falling Down, I didn't notice all these nice little touches, which I'm not saying are original, but they are there. And when I watched it a second time, then I'm discovering them. And I have more appreciation for Joel Schumacher as an artist.
But so when you say the word learning, this is not like learning, now I've learned how to survive in the wild. I have just learned another piece of pop culture that really, I guess maybe if you were in a hostage situation and someone had a gun to your head and they're like, give me a reason why you shouldn't die today. And you're like, did you know that gun is the same one that they used in that movie? And then you'd be like, then the terrorist or hostage takers would be like, you know what? This guy's actually entertaining. Let's not shoot him. Let's shoot him instead. Bang. Stock market guy. Bang.
At university, I stopped a mugging with football knowledge.
Horse shit. How?
We were about to be mugged by these teenagers, and one of them was wearing a very small local team's like football shorts because it was the summer, and I just mentioned it, and then it seemed to diffuse the whole situation. We went and got some beers with our muggers and had some street beers.
But they can't be muggers if they didn't take anything.
No, they would be muggers. They were about to mug us.
How do you know? Did they say it? We're gonna mug you.
They were like, "Yeah, give us your wallet." I think was the opening game, but I've been mugged a few times.
And that's the only time that you actually deflected the situation.
Yeah, and it was completely. If I hadn't been absolutely trashed, I probably wouldn't have tried to start a conversation about football with a mugger.
Well, okay, but that's different. I mean, obviously you're trashed. I mean, a lot of people do stupid things when they're trashed, like talking to muggers, or pretending that they know Krav Maga. Oh, I got the gun. Bang. Oh, whoops.
But yeah, when I say learning, I'm just learning to appreciate films on different levels. So, Battlefield Earth is a bad film by any measure, but there are some fantastically comic roles, and there's one scene where Forrest Whitaker has double-crossed John Travolta, and he's hidden something with the bartender that they go to, and this whole scene plays out, and it finishes with John Travolta removing the head of the bartender from the arm of the chair that Forrest Whitaker is sitting in. And if you stop and think about it for a second, the way the scene is set up, not only does John Travolta need to know that Forrest Whitaker has double-crossed him, he needs to know exactly when and how Forrest Whitaker is going to reveal this information to him. And then he needs to make sure he kills the bartender after Forrest Whitaker has last seen him, but before the reveal, but gets into that room before Forrest Whitaker and hides the head in the arm of the chair so he can reveal it for this comic moment. It's so needlessly circuitous that if you think about just how ridiculous it is, it becomes comically wonderful. The amount of work that John Travolta's alien character had to do to get that one moment,
right?
And the amount of luck, it's just wonderful. It's like my favorite Simpsons thing when I realized how strange the Simpsons could be was when Marge is going to the shop and they've got Otto's girlfriend living with them because she got jilted. And as she's in the car, the entire family, including the girlfriend, are stood in the driveway to say goodbye to her while she goes to the shops. And even when I was like 10, I was like, this is ridiculous. Why would the whole family come and line up next to a car to say goodbye? And that brings me a lot of joy.
So do you actually derive like pleasure from watching these movies 2 or 3 times? Because I watch a movie once and I'm like, that's done. Same with a book. You said to read novels. I'm like, I can't read a book more than once.
Lots of people tell me, I mean, I could just watch this. I can watch stuff over and over again, and I can find more joy in it each time.
I can watch the highlights, like the Dark Knight. That one, like all of the Joker clips, and then even the Bane clips from the Dark Knight Rises. Those ones I can watch over and over again. But like the whole film, there's two films that I can watch that I'll put on just from start to finish, and basically quote the whole thing: Tropic Thunder, and then Wolf of Wall Street. Those are my two go-to films of like either I'm drinking my whiskey or it's gotten to the point of the evening where I'm like, I'm going to start drinking whiskey or vodka or whatever.
Did you find Wolf of Wall Street to be too long?
That's the one I could watch. But the way that Scorsese paces that movie, it all of a sudden you look up and you're like, the movie's 2 hours over already. And you're going, wow, that's like, it is very, very well paced, and that's what I enjoy. I mean, it's a phenomenal piece of a cinematic
the final
history.
Scene is my favorite, where he's doing the talk in New Zealand in front of everybody, and it pans over the audience, and the audience apparently is meant to be us, a bunch of not very attractive people staring at a man who's a convicted criminal and going, I wish I was him. It's the Scorsese film I enjoy the most. It's not his best film by any stretch, I think, but in terms of the director's choices, Shutter Island, I think that's Scorsese, because the whole thing it's worth watching again, because audio and visual often don't line up. Superficially you go, oh, it's raining, I hear rain, but when you watch it back you go, oh, it's raining very gently and I hear a massive thunderstorm. And it's because it's all in Leonardo DiCaprio's head. He's romanticized the whole thing, and we're seeing it through the sort of Rosemary's Baby unreliable narrator.
Right. Okay.
It's fun. So there's things to get. If you enjoy a film, do watch it again.
Obviously, I just don't have the time to do it. I guess. I mean, yeah,
especially Rosemary's Baby. It's a great film.
That one, I now am afraid of turmeric. I believe turmeric makes devil's babies now, because that's what they're using. She keeps on saying it smells like turmeric in here. It smells like turmeric. I watched Rosemary's Baby after I read the book, and the book gave me nightmares. And then I watched the movie. I was like, it wasn't as scary, but the book had more going on in my mind.
What's the name of the actor? Ralph.
Not Fiennes, is it? Fiennes?
No, it's like Ralph Devaney or something. He's also one of the Duke brothers in Trading Places. He plays the doctor in Rosemary's Baby.
I see the face.
He's quite an old man.
I don't know the name.
Ralph Delaney. That's it. Ralph Delaney. Okay. He's very good in everything he's in. That's the other thing. Some actors are just good in everything they're in, even if it's a bad film. And some actors are always bad, but they often appear in good films. And sometimes the theme will just be, let's follow this actor for a bit and just roughly see what's going on.
See, for me, I need to have a movie that in some way empowers me. And like Tropic Thunder is so comically over the top. And what was it? Robert Downey Jr. was on the Joe Rogan podcast explaining how Tropic Thunder could not be made these days because of the massive liberty they took in terms of like portraying characters. But with all that being said, you're going, but that was the point of the movie. It's such a comical political satire of everything. You go, how could you not make that movie again? Because it needs to be made again, because that's exactly what's happening again. We still haven't learned. I mean, this is part of the issue. The other one, like with Wolf of Wall Street or Dark Knight, there's these movies crop up every now and then that I watch, but yeah, there's very few that I value my time a lot, and I do a lot of reading that's not necessarily novel related, but I do a lot of other reading. And I don't want to be wasting. The other thing I do a lot of is I do a lot of production stuff. So I don't. I do a lot of music production or a lot of other video production, but I don't want to always be consuming. Even though I appreciate the fact that you do need to consume to sort of understand what's been done before. I
completely agree. I create virtually nothing. I've since lockdown I've started 2 stories. I don't want to say novels. I've got all the chapters planned out, but it sounds really pretentious to say novels. One of them I've had the idea for a long time, like a decade. It's about French mortgages. And the other one,
Sounds enthralling.
I came up with the idea after watching a Dutch film, but both of them have to do with the housing market, and both of them have to have murder involved.
Well, give us the synopsis. What is it? What's going on?
So the first one is about voyageurs, which is a special old French mortgage where if you're over a certain age, you can sell your house at a knockdown price and live there until you die, and you get paid an allowance each month by the new owner of the house.
Right.
The older you are, the more the person will pay because the gamble is less. If the person who buys the house dies before you, no problem. You can sell the house again. And in some cases, people have sold the house 4 or 5 times because they've outlived the buyers. And basically, my idea is that someone buys the house, they're in financial dire straits, they need to get rid of the old lady who's living there. The old lady is also in financial dire straits and needs a new owner. And they're sort of drawn together in a comical attempt to kill each other, both failing miserably before one of them succeeds and the other one goes to jail and nobody wins.
So is it a comedy or a horror?
Well, I've tried to write everything. When I write, there's 2 rules I have. I don't describe what characters look like because I don't like that. And, I'm writing, I'm in charge.
And you're right. How do you do that? Like, well, he looks like a man with a nose and eyebrows.
And the second one is any decision a character makes, it has to be logical. It has to make sense in the situation. It can't just be driving the story forward.
But that's common screenwriting or story etiquette.
But it's unacceptable when I'm writing. People have to make decisions people would make. You can get into a ridiculous situation through a series of sensible decisions.
Yes.
That's absolutely fine. And the second story is one I'm more enjoying writing. It's about a community that's having basically the government wants to build a road through their town or whatever, and they're all being paid off to move out. And they all go fine. And then some of them go, wait, that's not fine. And they build up a little community like action thing, and people are saying we need to fight against this, and eventually the government kick them all out. But one guy says, no, I'm staying, I'm not leaving the house. And he stays in the house, and the rest of the community is knocked down, but the people keep sneaking food and supplies into him so he doesn't have to leave. Eventually he gets dragged out of his home physically, and by this point, he's being lionized by the national press as someone who cares about community and cares about people, and he's not just interested in money, but he's protecting his home. And then the next day, they demolish his house.
Isn't this?
And they find
didn't you get that from the newspaper? I swear, there's been a newspaper article about how the Chinese government was trying to knock down one neighborhood, and this old guy was like, "No, I'm not leaving."
Yeah, but the twist at the end is that when they knock down his house, they find a couple of bodies buried in his garden.
Oh, and come on! So he's just a serial killer. Oh,
no, not a serial killer. Maybe just one killer. But the reason he didn't want to move was not because he cared about his community, but because he didn't want to be caught.
Because he was killing his community from the inside.
I like the idea of that one. I'm enjoying because I think you could read it twice, and you could read it through, and the second time would be an entirely different read to the first one.
I kind of like the first one. I like the first one better. I think that the first one had a bit more going to it because of the comedic effect that you had going, where they're both trying to basically kill each other for like the same badly for the same reason, for the same ends.
Yeah,
and you're like, this will not work out. If it does work out, none of us win either.
Yeah,
that's great.
Good farce should have an unhappy. Yeah, that one's the one I had the idea for at university, and I've really just not done enough with it. But I'm like 4 or 5 chapters in now.
So have you actually written them down, or is it like you're just thinking them through and you're...
Oh, I've written 4 or 5 chapters, and I've done the skeleton for the whole story. So I know exactly what's going to happen beat from beat.
How many words total have you written?
How many words? So, no, I don't know, but I could probably look. Basically, a novel has to be between like 90 and 110,000 words for it to be about right.
Are you doing longhand or on the computer?
I'm actually typing this one. So if it's about 20% of the way through, I would say on 5 chapters, because it's not a huge one, probably like 15,000 words.
Right, because each computer page is about 250 words, roughly.
I just use the word
double space. If it's single space, I think it's 500 words. So I mean, depending. Yeah, I know. I've done the same thing, like where I set myself page goals. Or
I haven't done the same thing where I do set myself page goals and then I just multiply that by X number of words that usually is on a page, and then I get my total for the total book and whatever. It's never worked. I've never finished any of the books that I've ever started. So
yeah, I think this is like reverse engineering a story is not always the best idea in terms of reverse engineering it by quantity. I need this many words per chapter, and I need this many chapters. Let's go.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
So, do you write while you're watching movies, or are these two separate?
Separate activities? Total focus when I'm writing, which is why I've written so little.
And then total focus when you're watching as well, which is why you've watched so much.
Yeah. I get really frustrated with phones out during films, or it's got to be focused.
Well, that would frustrate most people. I mean, and that's pretty common here in China. Although I know I do it too now. I sit there and I go, oh yeah, look, I'm going to take a picture of the opening credits, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to message someone. I'm like, hey, guess where I am? Blah blah blah. You know, they're like, oh yeah, look at this, and I'll oh yeah, I got to check can we get chwar delivered for right at the end of the movie?
Now I want chwar.
Yeah. Then I got to message it. I got to set that. I got to fill in the health form now. Whatever.
I forgot to do mine today.
Well, now you're gonna die. That's the issue. Now your 2 novels aren't gonna get written. So So you've watched 180, 200 movies. You've written parts of 2 novels. What else have you done over the last 6 months? I mean.
Listen, I learned a few songs on the piano. I'd never played the piano before.
Right. What songs?
Practice my Chinese, not as much as you.
You aren't practicing your Chinese. Your fiance speaks too good of English.
I'm getting to a sort of beginner, and I'm getting to a good level of beginner in Slovenian as well. And then I've been doing other projects, writing articles for the BC, and I did voice work, and I still organize football and other events and stuff.
Right.
So.
Okay, so I mean, you've been keeping busy. It wasn't just watching movies the entire time, which is, I mean, whatever. That's good. I thought it was impressive when you said that you've been watching a movie every single day, and you're committed to it. I love the fact that last week you're like, I'm so done with this. I can't do this. It's become work. I can't stand this. It's no longer enjoyable. But
I think the fact that Melissa traveled for work for a bit meant I had 2 months where I spent 4 weeks watching films on my own. And when you've got when you watched 1984's The Stuff on your own, there's no one to talk to about it. Go, oh, have you seen this film about yogurt that takes over the world?
Right.
No. So it's better now she's back. But yeah, I need to. It needs to be a nice ending. I already know what film I'm going to end it on, because it's like my favorite film.
Which one?
RoboCop.
Oh, yes. Okay, but then when is the end? Are you going for 365, or are you going to call
I don't think it's healthy to go for 365. I think I might even take a whole week without watching films.
I don't think you can do it, first of all. Second of all, I think you probably already watched 365 movies this year already, but you haven't actually counted the ones that you don't count per day.
That's crossed my mind as well. The fact that when we were flying to Slovenia and flying back, and even in Slovenia, we watched dozens of films.
Yeah.
Everything from Toy Story 4 to The Wolfman.
The original with Lon Chaney.
Lon Chaney. Yeah. Melissa is a big fan of early horror.
Yeah, those are so cheesy now. You watch them. Before, when I was a kid, they'd sort of freak you out. The idea that those things could exist, those creatures, but now it's kind of like, I know worse people than that.
Yeah.
The newspapers are worse than this.
Maybe I'll go down like a different route. Like, all these famous directors try and find films that they're not famous for. So everyone knows Ed Wood and like Plan 9 from Outer Space. But maybe I'll do like a deep dive into Glenn or Glenda, his film about him being a transvestite and that being okay in the 50s.
It sure would be interesting to find out. All right.
It's a really boring film.
Well,
is that the end? Have we reached a conclusion? I feel like I've talked your ears off.
No, it's good. I mean, it's sitting here at 9:30. I mean, I think we've talked a lot about why you came to China, like your origin story, basically, walking across parts of England, and of course all the movies that you're watching. If you were to sort of give people a recommendation of what they should watch of all the movies that you've watched to date, what are sort of the 2 or 3 off the top of your head that you would tell them you have to see this?
Okay, so the one I was thinking about today that I think a lot of people would enjoy, because everyone likes John Wick. I think everybody likes John Wick. Keanu Reeves has an uncredited role in a 1993 film called Freaks, which stars Alex Winter, who's his partner from Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Where Keanu Reeves plays Wolf Boy. And if you like sort of zany, wacky, teenage MTV 90s humor, it's excellent. But it also has a lot of really good actors. You know that guy in Everest who's the postman, and he slips down and dies, and he's responsible for the death of pretty much everyone? He's in loads of films.
Okay. I remember when Freaks came out. Freaks was popular because that was a massive marketing push for that movie.
Yeah. But the cow guy in that is the postman from Everest as well. And there's a few other actors, like the guy who lights his farts is one of the other pirates in Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, you've got Mackenzie Crook, and the other guy who's like bald with long hair, he's lighting his farts in Freaks. As long as, you've got Mr. T and stuff as well. But there's loads of ones I've really enjoyed.
Freaks. What else have you got? Another 2 or 3?
Virus with Edward James Olmos. It's a long one. It's a Japanese-American joint about the end of the world through a virus. And I'm going to go with one for you, because you're a man of Ukrainian stock.
I am.
I think everybody should watch Elijah Wood in 2005's Everything is Illuminated.
Yeah, that movie is based on a book, and that movie basically tells the story of all us part of the diaspora who go to Ukraine or Poland. Because I met a guy who's from Poland. I told him about my cultural journey. He's like, yeah, we hear it from you North Americans all the time. Everyone's coming over to find their roots. It's so fucking lame, he said. And I'm like, but that's so important for us. He's like, yeah, we don't care. It doesn't matter. I mean, I do keep in touch with my family in Ukraine, but that was only after like years of never knowing that they existed, basically. So
it's a really good film, and it's got the lead singer of Gogol Bordello.
Gogol Bordello, yeah, and he's a pretty famous guy, and he has good music as well.
And if anyone's an English teacher, they'll enjoy his use of English in the film as well. But my number one pick would be from one of my favorite comedian actresses, and she wrote and directed this film while 8 months pregnant, and it's about a woman who hears the voice of her unborn child that is encouraging her to kill people. It's called Prevenge by Alice Lowe.
Okay.
And if you ever watched anything like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, she has a small role in Hot Fuzz as well, and she's in another British film called Sightseers, which is also quite dark and quite fun. But Prevenge was just such an interesting idea. Polarized people. Some people thought it was very cheaply done and didn't sell itself. But I think if you like that sort of gritty British humor and blood, this is Prevenge was absolutely fantastic.
Prevenge. All right. I'll put those movies up on the show notes, and I'm sure people will love going through the list. If you can send me that whole list, actually be great. If you
I'll send you the whole list, and I'll send you the movie posters of a couple of them. I think we should arrange to watch a film and then talk about it for just half an hour. And we'll come back. We'll do another one.
Well,
I'll invite you back to your own podcast. We'll do another one.
I think we should do a commentary on a film. But the problem with that is that we have to get rights for that film. I mean, we can't. I mean, unless you have some sort of legal expertise that how to get rights to watch a film and do a commentary.
There's one film it can be done. I've helped, one film that hasn't been released yet that I've helped pay to make, that I'm guessing I could get in touch with the writer.
And we'll do the commentary for it?
Could we just watch the film and do the commentary? But it hasn't got its final cut yet, so might need to wait.
But people want to watch a film commentary with people who are involved with the film, not two wankers who are like, hey, let's do a film commentary.
I prefer the wankers. Let's watch Hear No Evil, See No Evil, or so let's watch some crap.
All right, we'll chalk it up to an idea. It could, why not? I guess it has to be done at some point. I mean, now that the idea is out there, the muses have spoken.
People at home, write in on postcards to Steve at China. Tell him what movies you want him to play and watch.
And if they could set Steve at China, that'd be great. They can find me at my website, of course, stevensersky.com, and on Twitter. If people want to get in touch with you, where can they stalk you? On Twitter? Or
I have no Twitter. I have no Instagram.
Beautiful.
You know what it is? I have no ambition. If you want to get in touch with me, just ask Steve.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll give you my WeChat or my email.
So WeChat, okay, but you don't want to give out your WeChat because that'll be.
I don't know. It's Blue Boy 88, and there's a hyphen in there somewhere as well.
Somewhere, but pick a letter between where the hyphen goes.
The E and the B.
All right, Blue Boy 88. All right.
You had a blue mohawk for a while at university on a bet.
And then you skipped that story, but all right. Okay, well, we'll end it there. Why not? It's been a pleasure talking to you, Owen. It's been great. I'm sure people are going to enjoy this quite a bit, and we'll put the movies up on the website for the show notes, and people can pick through what they want.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. We will talk again. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.